Hello, hello, hello. How is it going, everybody? Hope that you are all doing very well today. I was sitting here attempting to use a little tool to bring chat messages onto the screen a little bit easier. And needless to say, it hasn't worked out like I like it. So let's see what is going on in the chat. So, hello to those of you that are just now coming on in. Just basically hit the live button so you haven't missed anything yet. Hello, Andy Thompson. You are doing a great job. Thank you for letting me know. I'm definitely trying to share a few cool things that I have found. And I'm just sitting here looking at several pieces of hardware that I have for a video that I'd started a video, but I kind of stopped it because I just like playing with so many different things right now. So let's see what else we've got in here. Thanks for your effort and dedication. Hey, what's going on, Roger Smith? What is up? Hey, Newhouse. How are you doing today? Hopefully everything has been going well on your end. Hello, the Israel person. I sent you a message on Discord. You sent me a message on Discord. I have to see. I don't check Discord that often, to be quite honest with you. And I know a lot of people send me stuff on there. I'm not that great on Discord. I am really good with Twitter. So if you have a Twitter account, if you send me a DM on there, right now my DMs are completely open for direct messages. So basically, anybody at any given point can message me, and we can chat from there. Let's see what's going on. Hey, what is up, Moon Juice and Seed? How are you doing today? And there we've got a question here. And this question is, hi, Michael, can you advise me, should I sell PS5 10.40 and buy with low software or wait for the exploit? So PS5 10.40, yeah, we don't have anything for that. That's probably going to be a while. I believe right now it's probably the best time for anybody, and I really mean it. I believe right now is the best time for anybody to be able to get into the PS5 jailbreaking stuff. Whereas kind of before, especially in the early days when we had the PS5 1.00 and 2.00, nobody had those systems, which is mainly why when we got the hypervisor for those systems, there was only a few testers, and outside of a few videos, nobody really did anything with that. And then with the 3.x's, well, those were great, except for 3.20, you don't have M.2 support, which means that is horrible, because I love my internal M.2 SSD drive. And then, so threes, and I feel like fours, like 4.03 for the PlayStation 5. I believe that is hands down the golden firmware for this thing. And if we could especially ever get, back ports for that, 4.03 may be that 5.05 PS4 that I think a lot of people kind of talks about today. Yeah, I think 5.05. Yeah, yeah, that's been a while. It's been crazy how long we've been doing all this stuff. And then for the PS5, 6 and 7.x, you can use BDJB, and enjoy those. Those jailbreaks a little bit easier. So, yeah, that's at least my thoughts on there. Let's see. Hey, what is up, John 5? How are you doing? Says, I am excited. Been waiting. I am on a PS4 11.02. Yeah, so you were right there at the cutoff. So as soon as 11.0 came out, I'm sure from there you went and ran right into an update, or somebody updated your system for you or updated the system for you, and now you're kind of suffering. Yeah, I don't know. I do a PS4 5 firmware series, and in that, what I basically tell everybody, my little Siri thing over here is going off. It's off. It's kind of funny. Okay. Well, anyways, I'm just gonna move on to the next questions in here. So let's see. Jose says, "Hey, what is up? Quick question: what is the best firmware for a PS5 that I need to look for?" That is a good question there, and I want to do this. Let's see. Yeah, I think I've got this ready to go. Let me go and just bring up this. Let me bring up this screen so we're gonna look at this a bit together. Okay. Hopefully it's all working really, really well. Not sure if it is or if it isn't. But here is the little breakdown that I did yesterday. So, yeah, I had a video that came out that was called the new Lapse exploit, a kernel exploit for PS4 up to 12.02 and for PS5 from 10.01 and so forth. So, in case you didn't see this part of the video, let me try to explain this a little bit. Now, in my minds, this is pretty simple. You've got a PS4 here, and you've got a PS5. Okay, if you can't follow along with that, then I think we're in trouble, right? And then for the WebKit exploit for the PlayStation 4, we know about a WebKit exploit up to 9.60. Beyond that, which we'll get into in just a second, we'll talk about what you can do past that. For the PS5, it's at 5.50. So that is awesome and amazing, which means that for those of you that are really interested in the PS5 stuff, using like I'm on a 4.03, using things like UMTX2, through the web browser, it is lightning fast. And that's really how I jailbreak, is that I go to the web browser in my 4.03 system and I jailbreak using good old fashioned WebKit. And going back to those little ESP devices, and my disk has got crap all over it, so yeah, I'm not too good at cleaning up some days, but yeah, like these little chips right here, these little ESP8266 chips, um, you know, the ones that I see with those, those use the UMTX2 and so forth. Now, for BDJB, it's not really applicable here in this context, but for PS5, this BDJB, works on all of your sixes and all of your sevens, which is really good. The nice thing about BD-JB is that you don't have to buy that crazy expensive game. And I've got a copy of, what was it called? A Kagi 2, I think was the name of it. I can't remember, but I know it starts with an A. But yeah, I bought that game, and you wouldn't have to need that. You wouldn't need that if you were on a 6.x or a 7.x. And then kind of the story here with Lua was that you have on a PS4, you've got an 11.02 system here, because you can use PP Pawn. If you were past the 9.60 on WebKit, say you're on 10.50 or you're right at 11.0, you can use the PP Pawn for that. But for this, if you have the disk, it would work on 11.02 or 12.02. And well, the disk really only, the physical disk. And then if you were on 8.x, all the way up to 10.01, and you bought that game and had that Lua game, well, then you would be able to run this exploit here. So, yeah, that is just a little bit of the context that I thought I would go ahead and kind of drop back in here and let you all know about. Let's see here. I might go over and take a look back at the comments and see what else has been happening in here today. And we may just go over Lapse from the beginning. So also on 10.40. Yeah, if you're on 10.40 on your second PS5, I mean, you're going to be waiting for a while on that one. Let's see. What about firmware 8.60? 2-year PS5. I'm not sure I get that. Yeah. So, and I'll just say this just all together real quick. There are going to be some systems that are, like the digital editions that you would not be able to use and take advantage of that Lua game that I was just mentioning. And for those, yeah, you would kind of be stuck until we potentially get a WebKit or something like that. Okay. All right. I think I've looked through the comments, and so let me switch screens over here again. And I just want to bring this up. So we'll go to this one. Okay, so kind of getting everybody back up to speed here is that we had a brand new exploit that was a kernel exploit for the PS4 and can potentially work on the PS5. Now, I'm not going to go deep into it at the moment, but right now it doesn't support the PS5. We'll go through the notes in just a second. Okay, so this popped up in the PlayStation 5 research and development Discord server, which, let me just say this right off the bat, which is kind of the reason I like to kind of do this live, or I kind of like to talk about some of these things live, is I can add some more context. That PS5 research and development Discord server, it is a public server. I know tons of people were kind of like, oh, don't go there, or don't look for it, or don't search for it. It's a public place. Now, it is a place that really you only need to chime in if you are a developer or making some sort of significant contribution. It is not there, and it's not there in place for those that is like looking for ETA win. That feels weird to say. But yeah, it's not a place for those that's just looking to see, when's the next game I'm going to pirate is going to be available. It's really not for that. It's for research and it's for development. And yeah, I mention it, and I don't want anybody to ever feel that this is like something that's some secret. I don't really do any of the like secrets with anybody here for the most part. With every author, I may be friends with them, but I never have asked in my life for early builds or for something that anybody else didn't have, mainly because I never wanted anybody to think my videos were in some way judged by me, having some of those. Anyways, so here we had the new Lapse exploit, and ABC did this on the PS5 Research and Development Discord, if you're wondering why I was just talking about that for 5 minutes. And they were like, okay, it is a kernel exploit for the PS4 and the PS5. And they later kind of made some clarifications for these numbers, which is why I've already told you what they are. But there was a few things that they did think that was worth calling out. And this right now was for PS4 8.0 only. Now, like most of you, I have been at work, and so I've gotten off of work, so I'm not sure if anything has changed in the last few hours on that, but at least when I was looking at this originally, I saw that it is only just for PS4 8.0. Um, Now, other firmwares are going to be ported, which we always know that. And that is, again, something that happens every single time that these firmwares come out. They have to get the offsets to match them for the other firmwares to be supported. Now, here was that message of the kernel rewrite must be ported to the PS5. So this part of the kernel doesn't exist in the PS5, but there is some kind of nice help that's kind of put into this. And then again, no hypervisor exploit. Now, I have been looking in the Discord server again, see if there was any updates. And I think right now at the moment, I haven't seen anything of late. So I might do a search for it. Let me state this. There is if you were asking me what's a really good guide right now for the Lua games, I was browsing YouTube and I saw this really good video by Brutal Sam. Let me see if I can find it. Sam. He also makes videos on PlayStation hacking, but there it is. Found it. Um, but he made a video here, and I'm going to put a link to this in the stream here. If you do want to check this one out, I'll go paste here. There is the link to the source on that. Share this top. But here's the video. I just pasted it into the chat, so you should definitely go check it out and support his channel and stuff. But he had this video that was kind of on the Lua Games buying guide for PS4 and PS5. And inside this, he lists all of the different games that's currently available. And so you can obviously find a list of this in a couple of different ways. You just search for Remote Lua Loader. You can get a list of these games. This is the one that I bought and I purchased. This is the one that I got. Now, the prices of these things right now have went, skyrocket. They are worth, they're sort of starting to get pretty expensive. Now, the reason that I kind of like this guide right here and that I really liked what Brutal Sam was doing was that he also listed some of the games that were, he also listed some of the games that also had the Artemis engine. Is that correct? I think it's something like that. But they weren't added yet, but there was actually a good price. Yeah, I think this might be one of them. Yeah, this one right here is one of them for sure. So like this one right now, and again, I'm kind of just, obviously I'm in the US, but this right now I can kind of see, this isn't too bad, for like in the 20s, or so. And some of these are more, obviously you'd have to look into these. One thing I did find interesting in this video was that there was this Finding Lua games in the Chinese online store, and inside of the listing of some of these ads, they have Lua in there. Let's see if I can find it. I was pretty amazed right now that some games that they're listing had Lua in there. So there you go. So right here it is. This one is for the game Winter Guest, and it's got PS4, and then right here you got Lua. The Lua, the Lua is there. So when we've gotten to the point now where everybody is starting to know what these Lua games are, it's going to be very, very painful to find some of these. And so, yeah, definitely check out Brutal Sam's channel. I watch his channel. I learn all kinds of stuff from him and a bunch of other people too. Let's see, what else do we have going on over here today? So, Ivan says, is there a list that tells us what to look for in a PS5? Okay, Ivan. You are talking about which types of models and all of that other stuff. Now, I have a video that is on my channel that I think I put something like, I might have even tried to like make it a little bit more like clickbaity, but I have a video on my channel that talks about how I find PS5s. Let me just throw this out there. Finding PS5s on like Facebook Marketplace and on OfferUp and things of that nature can be a bit difficult to find, mainly because you're up to asking that person if they will take a look and see what that firmware version is. Throughout my whole time that I've been looking for like PlayStation crap on Facebook Marketplace and places like that, I found that there's never a time that anybody has known how to find the system version of the PlayStation 5, and that it's because of the way that Sony decided to change that string, versus like with the PlayStation 4 where it was a little bit more easy. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. So, Zeko says, will there be an exploit by the Flow in 6 months? Oh, so interesting there. How are you doing? Hopefully you are doing really, really well. Always like to kind of come hang out. I wish I could be more like consistent about like streaming and stuff. Um, I'm like most all of you. I have a regular job that takes my daytime away, and I have other activities that takes my night times away. So, and then gaming. I love to play me some games. I do have a PlayStation 5 that is up to date. I know people have asked that many times, and I'm like, yes, that's how I make my videos right now, testing Lua, is that I always update this one system. Why do I update this system? Things like Astrobot, wanted to play the downloadable content. Days Gone. I have a copy of PlayStation 4. I have a PlayStation 4 copy of Days Gone, and I can toss that into my PlayStation 5, and I can get a remastered version that looks really good on my TV. There's just several reasons. I don't pay for any of their online services. I don't want any of the that online gaming sort of thing. I like my single player games. I don't want to compete against a whole world of people or anything like that. So, yeah. So Zeko says, I'm doing fine. Love the Q&A stuff. Yeah, I always kind of like doing a little bit of questions and answers. It's always been fun for me. Let's see here. So I'll go to this message. You were talking about the ESP8266. I've seen you can use PS5. What about PS4? Up to what firmware it can be used on a PS4? Okay, so for the PS4, again, right now you only have up to 11.00. And yeah, there's a whole ton of projects. A whole ton of projects, especially out there for the PlayStation 4. With the ESP devices, obviously what was golden about that was that you did not have to have a USB drive. So yeah, tons of projects on that. And I was looking for the ESP GitHub. Let's see if I can find it over here. ESP 8266. Here, I think this one is it. Yeah, this one's it. So let's go to this one. Okay, so this is the one that is kind of I hear a few people talking about this one, and this is the ESP8266 PlayStation 5 web exploit server, and this is by Vladimir, and they also just released today this one right here. This is the PlayStation 5 WebKit cache remover, and so there you can kind of see what this project was. You know, removes the WebKit cache for all users by basically, you know, clearing out this shell directory. So this one has been just talked about today, and then their ESP server is kind of the other one that I'm starting to hear a few people talking about. I think the main reason, you know, people like these little devices is that obviously you're never dependent upon a connection. You know, maybe I shouldn't go on a rant, but like with this Nintendo Switch 2, and like, you know, today they talked about there's going to be game card. I mean, the Nintendo Switch 2, there was a new update, and in the terms of agreements, basically there was something around they can break your console. Now, I know there's bunches of legal stuff, and I don't think they could do that in the EU. Who knows? They could probably do that in the US. But yeah, I don't know. I like I like having full control of my hardware. And if I go and I purchase a game, which a lot of you, I know I see you on all of these live streams. You know, for the most part, I buy games. I don't mind spending my money purchasing a game. This is not a piracy in game for me at all. This is why I love homebrew, and I like really what my channel talks about, which is not about pirating, even though sure you can use items flow and go to town with it. But you know, I don't really care for that for the most part. And by the way, I have zero. I mean, I have zero problem with anybody that does. Yeah, I have zero problem with anybody that does. So many different reasons, but yeah. So this is the ESP8266 version, and this is pretty easy. You basically get this Node MCU high flasher, which I think I've even got this thing still installed on my system. Node MCU. Yeah, I've got this thing still installed right here. So yeah, it's just this little tool right here. And so you basically download and install it. You put it on, you select the firmware, which basically you can get down from here. Now, they did state in here that if you have this ESP host fake package installed on your PS5, which was right here, that you did not need to do the rest of this step right here. So that obviously has to deal with the web cache stuff. I think they explain it down here somewhere. But then you just download this bin file from the releases page and you flash it to your ESP8266. And then go look for the SSID of PS5 Web AP. And the password is just going to be password there. And yeah, you log in. You can give it your credentials if you actually want it to get on the Wi-Fi. And then head over to the admin page and rock and roll from that. Yeah, anyways, I was thinking about playing with this one here recently because I think folks kind of they like to have completely offline scenarios. It's always just something about a completely offline scenario that they like. Let's see here. Uh Hello, do you know the maximum SSD readability capacity of the PlayStation 5 for playing games? I am sorry, man, Sam. I do not know what the maximum SSD readable capacity for the PS5 is, but I'm sure there is some options out there for you to find. Is the PS5 9.60 cracked? Well, I have a little bit of a video on that, and I just went over it. I may go over it all in just a second, but you are in good shape being underneath 10.01 PlayStation 5. And then I can see over here from RSV Biker, glad I kept that PS4 11.02 now. Yeah, and I'll always just say this. Whenever you see that there's an update that comes out, and don't ever download it, don't ever accept it. For myself, I do actually have a story that I will admit, and that is that I had a PS4 Pro, and it was on 9.00, and this was at the time that 9.00 that jailbreak was like brand new or something. And I did have a system that got updated to 9.03, which is really hilarious because I mean, I do this as like a hobby, and so I guess that's the difference between a hobbyist and a professional. But yeah, I totally had that system updated, and it was kind of a bummer. But I have found other systems since then, and no, I've never done the revert method or anything like that. Mainly because I believe that it isn't that difficult to find a solid PlayStation 4 that is underneath 11.0. I could tell you right now, if somebody took a camera crew and they came to my area, um, I could find a PS4 under 11.0 within hours, easily, by going into pawn shops. Is what I would do. A lot of these pawn shops, they have PS4s that just sits in there for long periods of time, and so 11, that's pretty recent, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's at least my thoughts. My thoughts on that one. Um, yeah. So Israel says here, that's what I found as I'm running on my PS4 PP Pawn, but wanted to test with an ESP8266 as I've used them before. Now, I obviously have both of them. So this one right here is my little network adapter for PP Pawn. And I will tell you that I think this, for the most part, is way too slow. So you've kind of got to pick your poison, right? Would you rather have an exploit that you just use like this, where you just turn on your PlayStation 4 and the thing gets jailbroken, or would you like, and obviously you'd have to wait for it, or would you like to just load open your PS4 in this case, and pop open a web browser and be done? I can literally get my PS4 jailbroken like usually within seconds using one of these little devices. I have obviously a lot of different PS4s that I've used for like the channel and stuff, but I have one that is a really old Call of Duty variant. And that thing always seems to just work. It's always worked really well. I know there was some weird like hardware issues that some people had with these models. Um, I will admit that whenever I got it, I never used it as a primary PlayStation 4. So I never used it like day to day, for playing games or anything. So maybe it's because I haven't used and abused it. 'Cause it definitely doesn't have the hours on it that would have for like my main console. Um, so let's see here. I also bought a router with OpenWRT. Yeah, that's a whole lot of fun. That's a whole ton of fun to do that. I set that up one time before. I think it might have been uh, an Asus Dark Knight. I think that was the name of the router that I was able to put um, uh, OpenWRT on. Um, let's see here. So, what else did we have over here today? Now, I guess this project would be a good one to bring up. So, over here, so for the remote Lua loader, which we had right over here. So this is the place that I was talking about just a second ago. If you do want to get that full list of games, especially if you're looking to just copy and paste these things, like into eBay or something. So this is the one that I got, and this is the one that is now about $100. I think when I bought it, I paid about 30 something shipped, but that was also because I bought it in the very early stages where I didn't really know if it was going to work out or not. So I bought it super early. So yeah, so those of you that watches the channel, I really greatly appreciate it. Because if you didn't, it would suck to always have to pay for some of these things to show them off. As I was sitting in line, and that's the reason I have a couple of jailbroken uh, PS5s. Well, just two of them, because I thought about it a real long time ago. Um, but with this repo, this one doesn't have all of the other bells and whistles that the version of its PLK has. Now, its PLK says right here that they are a fork of the main project, and the only difference here is that this one automatically loads the UMTX kernel exploit. The ELF loader, your ELF payloads, and Lua scripts, and that this one supports PS5 firmwares up to 7.61. Now, I was thinking about running this one and seeing what this looked like on my PS5 4.03, since obviously I've got the game. And then I also will tell folks that for all of these, this comes up rarely, but if you do have a system that is completely up to date, so I have that PS5 11.20, you can create a Japanese account and test it from there if you would like to. This is one of those instances where it'd be nice to have, um, you know, uh, uh, you would have to switch between, if you had like a US account or whatever in order to be able to do that. But let's look at this project a little bit more. So it wants you to create a folder named the Lua loader, and then place your ELF bin files and Lua files and an autoload.txt file. In autoload, list the files you want to load, and there is the PS5 Lua loader directory, and you put it in the root. Okay, so you can basically just put that folder in one of these locations right here. And then follow the steps in setup. So I'm guessing you can't use the original files that came out of remote Lua loader repo. Looks like you would have to do this. Let's see. A jailbroken PS4. Yep, logged in. Okay, so they're walking you back through the steps of how to create the tool. These really aren't that hard to follow along. I might have even made a video on this at some point. You know, kind of describing it and kind of working back through it. But yeah, that's kind of the one that I'm starting to see more and more people talk about is that version of it. Let's see what else is going on in here. So let me go to the end here. So J Crow says, is a 2.3x PS5 kind of useless? Any thoughts on backporting? So, for that one, is a 2.3 kind of useless? Yes. 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 A PS5 1.x and a 2.x is probably nothing but just stuff that's going to sit on your shelf. It's real weird for me because I like the idea of having some of those older firmwares available and having those original systems. Yeah, there's a part of me that likes it, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you should use stuff that you've got. So an example of this is okay, if I go out and I buy a brand new PlayStation 5 game and it's got the seal on it. If I bought that game like literally intending to play it and I was planning on playing it, whatever, keep it in the seal, for a little while. If that thing has been in the seal for, a year, 2 years, or 3 years, then it may be about time to like crack open that seal and break it and play with it. Use it is the main part. So yeah, I don't really see any reason why anybody should have a 1.x or a 2.x unless they're just a collector and they just want to have one of those. And even with like my 3.20, you all know I've kind of been disappointed in that for a while, mainly because you can't use your M.2 SSD. That, even for the main part of it, 3.20 is okay, but yeah, what am I going to do with it? That's that's a really good question. For myself, it might be good to make a video on a 3.x system, but outside of making a video and, if I didn't kind of have this as my hobby of like kind of having a YouTube channel and stuff like that, I don't think I would stay on 3.20, to be quite honest with you. I'd probably go ahead and go all the way up to 7.61 with that system, because what's the cool things that's going to come for it? Maybe a hypervisor, which Deco says that it will, for 3 and 4X was in his tweet. Yeah, but what else are you going to do with it? And then 4.03, I think that's still going to be one that you would want to keep. So a 4.03, I definitely want to keep on that one. But yeah, I think 4.03, 6.71, and that is the gravy train right there. You can use WebKit for the 4.03 one, and then for the 6.71, you could use the Blu-ray disc that you can burn freely without having another disc. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. So let's see here. Let's go to George P. Thank you for, let's see here. Sorry, I lost that. Thank you for your work. I have 2 questions. Is there a Discord server for PS4 similar to PS5 research and development? So they talk about the PS4 in that research and development server. So they talk about it in there. There's actually a bunch of channels that talks about PS4 stuff. I don't visit all of them because, as I've said, sometimes I don't really hang out on Discord or anything like that. Let's see here. Go to this screen. Here are the ones I think might be good. Let's go to this one. And let's go to, okay, so there's that one. There is the Xbox Emulation Hub. Gold Hen Server has one, and you can find all of these. They're all public. PS4, yeah, I mute some channels. PKG Zone has stuff in there. Andrew 2007 has a hangout. Xbox Scene, PlayStation Hackers United. It's Joker. He's the one that did the FPKG program, and then I've got. I don't think any of these are Inaku. No, I think some of this is my Switch stuff. So, yeah, I think that's probably going to be the main ones that I would recommend checking out. Or at least those are the ones that I kind of hang out in. Let's see here. If I remove the current hard drive from the PS4 console and use a new one and install the same firmware version of the operating system, will the account on the first one stay activated? So let's see here. If you remove the hard drive, install the same. Yeah, so I hear what you're saying. You got a PS4, you take the hard drive out, and then now if you activate it, then yeah, I don't think that would work. If you activated it, I don't think that if you put that other hard drive back in, I don't know. I know it would. No, it would ask you to sign in again. It would have to. Yeah. Yeah. So at least that's my thoughts. Is that it'd have to. My question here: did Sony paste startup PS1 themes to 10.40 with an inner timer? Okay, so I think you're talking about the startup sounds and themes that came with that update. I have not seen those themes go anywhere or be posted anywhere. It doesn't mean that they can't. I know a lot of people were really wanting those to stay around, but yeah, sorry, it didn't. Well, let's see. I think we've talked about most of the things that I kind of had on my my mind here at the moment. We talked a bit about the it's PLK Lua loader. So in case you want to see this, that is where that goes to. Let's see. Zalem says, I don't know English. Can you make labels? I don't know what you mean by labels. Not sure what you mean about that. Why don't you put that, or why don't you try to tell me that again? Actually, there was another person that I missed here. So Pete says, I have a jailbroken PS5 at 3.20 and downloaded this Raspberry image. Will this work for when I decide to upgrade to Lua's firmware, or will I still need to find a physical Lua disk? Okay, so Peep, you will not need to worry about this. This 3.20 system that you've got, you have tons of options. You can use anything. You can use WebKit, which which is what you would use because WebKit and UMTX2 is lightning fast. So that would be the one you would definitely want to do there. Let's see here. Thoughts about backporting. Oh man, I tell you, I love the idea of backporting, and I wish that was more of a thing. I think we're all going to have to wait and see what happens here. Cyber is the one that I think we're just kind of waiting around on, and hopefully we'll see if he is interested in doing more work with that. Otherwise, I think most of us is just going to have to be kind of hanging out and waiting around on that. Yeah, you both are welcome there. Yeah. Well, I just always thought that it would be a kind of a good thing to kind of pop on here for a few minutes and chat with all of you and see how you are all doing. Well, I tell you what, I am probably going to be back on here on Sunday, and on Sunday we can we'll continue the conversation like we always do. Anyways, I think I'm going to end this stream, so thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Bye bye.